Hey guys, Brian here and welcome back to the channel. And in today's episode, we are interviewing my friend Eric Park. He is a CVICU nurse that originally he was in Buffalo during the pandemic, all while the hospital was going on strike, where he was thrown into all these different type of critical care situations. And the stories that he's telling is just amazing to hear. And there's a lot of laughs in this, a lot of good information about what he's doing now and what his future plans are for his career. So before we get into the video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get right into the video. So guys, we have my friend and hopefully coworker Eric Park here today. So guys, he's a really good guy. So Eric, tell us about yourself and your journey into nursing.
Oh man, well first, thanks for having me on. It's an
Of course,
honor.
man.
Journey as a nurse is kind of a lengthy one for me. I'm a bit older and I got into nursing 2-3 years ago. And yeah, I mean, I think.
And how old are you right now?
I'm 30. I just turned 30 in this past August.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I know. I feel it.
I'm older. I'm 34, so it's okay.
You look younger than me, so you're doing something right. So yeah. So no, it's been a kind of a hectic journey. I went to school right out of high school and college, and went to pretty much a liberal arts college, not really with any direction of what I wanted to do. My parents wanted me to do business just because we, have a family business, and I was very involved in that. So I was like 12, helping them out, first Asian immigrant family story. So, but just felt that wasn't really right for me. And then took a lot of time off in between that college as well, just to help set them up with a second business as well.
Oh, wow.
So,
I didn't know that.
yeah, very family business involved. Yeah, and, helped out, kind of put my own education pause in there to help out. And then during that time, helping with the business, kind of was like, oh, you know what, maybe I want to get into helping people or being involved with some kind of aspect, recovery, caring for people. Find that something I gravitated towards. And then I actually looked into athletic training just because I was training so much myself at the time, and to help people with the sports rehab and physical recovery and stuff like that. There happened to be Marist College right next to our second family business.
That's true. That is close by.
Yeah, and they had a really good athletic training program, so I joined there, doing that for a little bit, and then I quickly realized, hey, this is a little boring, or not as
Really? You didn't like athletic training with all the powerlifting and all the working out that you do kind of thing?
So I did like it. I did like the aspect of it, but it's more, I do respect the field and anybody that's in it, but honestly, there are a couple aspects that just weren't really checking all the boxes for me. So you're prepared a lot for emergent cases, if an athlete goes down or athletic injuries or things like that, you're doing a lot of rehab that.
Okay.
Getting the team or whatever athlete prepared for a game or practice and things like that. But the hours and the things you're required to prepare and know just really didn't make sense with what they get with their compensation. They just weren't making enough.
Oh, I didn't even know how much an athletic trainer makes unless they're with a sports team or something.
Yeah, so even with sports teams, pro teams, that you don't really, there's a pay cap. It's not a lot. Last time I checked, it was an average I want to say anywhere 40 to 60, but that was
40 to 60.
Don't quote me on that. Even pro teams don't make as much, which you would expect. They'd make a lot more. But,
No, you're not wrong. I just Googled it. It's
I think the highest
50 to 76 right now. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, we'll take inflation into account. But I think even I think there are only 2 professional team or associations that pay the most. And I think it's the NFL and EA, I believe. But even to get into that, it's you got to know people.
You got to know a lot of connections and all that as well. Yeah, right.
You travel a lot with the team for away games and things like that. So it's just a lot of demand for not as much compensation. And
yeah.
Besides that, I think just the time and I wanted something a little bit more fast paced. And this one time I had to escort, join an athlete to the ER just because he was a football player. He forgot his cup. He essentially had testicular torsion.
Oh shoot! Yeah.
It was gnarly. And then we had to go to the ER and whole ordeal. When we got to the ER and I saw all the nurses and everybody in action, and I had an S-bar essentially right then and there. And then that's when I was like, oh man, this is kind of what I was looking for. This was what I was like, oh man, this is what I was missing. this fast paced like breakdown and things like that,
Hmm.
which is weird because I never joined the ER, but
But that's what you like seeing.
yeah, that's what I liked seeing, and I was like, oh, maybe this is what I want into. So I looked into nursing, and I didn't really have friends to really ask about, so I just really shadowed one, and I just kind of gave it some serious thought and looked into some nursing programs, and so I went to AT, and then I went to Buffalo nursing.
Buffalo's a great place.
You would know. Go Bills. So yeah, that's kind of how I found
Did you
nursing.
go to a accelerated program, or you?
So I had a lot of credits just because I went to so many different colleges and stuff. So I think like 2, 3 schools. So I had a lot of college credits, and so I finished in Buffalo. And I was supposed to finish in about like 2.5 years, but COVID was, well, peak COVID at least, sprinkled in and all that. So it took about 3 years.
So like it actually hindered your schooling, COVID?
Just for a little bit.
Like slowed it down?
Come up and scramble like the last semester. They had to like figure out how we're gonna do this, like the rotations and stuff.
Oh yeah, because like that's what was hard, getting new students to clinicals.
Yeah.
Because I know it didn't really hinder like grad school people, like NPs and stuff, because they already had licenses and all that, so they could just go wherever they wanted to, and people would be like, okay, yeah, you can come here, and we need the extra hands anyway. Whereas like you're like a student nurse, where you're just like, what's going on? what am I doing here?
Yeah, exactly. So I think those were people. They were like able to like work under like an emergency profile or something.
Mm-hmm. So just a side note, testicular torsion, that is painful.
Yeah, dude, it was. We had to like shear off the pants and everything, and like in the ambulance, just to get a visual of what's going on. And I watched that sucker turn colors, and so I was like, oh no. And
did they manually twist?
They tried, yeah, but no, he went. They tried to manipulate it as best as they could, but by the time we got there, it was so swollen that they really couldn't twist that.
So I don't even know why I'm sharing this. When I was in junior high.
Oh no.
I was playing basketball for the school team, and then all of a sudden I just fell to the floor, like, what is going on, kind of thing.
Okay.
So luckily my dad, he was a nurse too, he's like, this dude doesn't just fall in pain. Like I feel like I have a high tolerance of pain, but that, I don't know what happened. I just fell down and I was like crying. So my dad took me out of the game, brought me to the ER, and they're like, yo, you got testicular torsion. And they had to do like all these maneuvering things, and I was like there overnight, like writhing in pain, but they were able to like manually over time do it. Like it didn't go to like super emergency, but they had to do like the whole ultrasound of everything. And then like I remember seeing the ultrasound where you could see like the I guess the spermatic cord kind of like not how it's supposed to be. I was like, oh my god, am I gonna lose my balls? Like that's funny that you brought that up, because I don't think I've actually ever told anyone that story.
Oh my god.
And I'm just gonna put it up there on YouTube. It's what a wild time we live in.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny. I'm sorry to bring up PTSD for you there. Wait, so did you get hit with a ball? Or
no, I was so I think that, to be honest, I think this was one of the days like my dad always told me wear compression shorts when you play basketball, and this is one of those days where I forgot to bring compression shorts in my gym bag. So just wearing like regular like not regular boxers, but
right, but like looser like underwear.
Yeah, it was just I don't even know what you call them, like boxer briefs, I guess, like that. And then I guess the hanging too much was making them move.
Your balls are so big that they just twisted on themselves, man.
Oh man, but yeah. So ever since that day, no matter what, if I'm any kind of sport, even if I'm working out, have compression shorts, dude. Like
I would
like PTSD stuck in my head.
Dude,
can't do it to myself again.
Well, at least they're good now. You got 2 kids. You're done.
That's true, man.
Yeah.
That was a crazy side tangent, but so right after you graduated nursing school, did you immediately go into working?
Yeah, pretty much. So what's nice about nursing school is that, you do your rotations as in your like final year. Well, you do them throughout, but you're really getting your hands dirty in the field in that last year. And then you have your capstone. And, I pretty much try to do all of them as much in the ICU to a degree. I mean, obviously you go through your different units, but my capstone was in ICU. at the end of most of my rotations, I asked to do like an ICU, like few days or something like that, because that's really where I wanted to be. And then in my my capstone, I was in the medical ICU at a county hospital. I think ECMC, you know the
ECMC,
area.
okay.
Yeah, so a lot of sick patients. My capstone coordinator happened to be a CVICU nurse, and I guess I did a decent enough job where he recommended me to come join him in his hospital, his unit, which I really didn't entertain or consider, because you hear as a student or fresh new grad that like ICUs don't really hire new grads.
Yeah, hire new grads.
I think the times have changed. That's just because every unit's a little desperate.
I think it's true now, because I see it where I work, where some of the ICUs are hiring new grads. I'm not saying it's the best idea, but there's I guess it's like a residency program that they're doing to see if they could train them up pretty quickly. But they're still like, I wonder what the vetting process is, because I'm a big person on like tactile skills, because I've put it on my Instagram before. I was not the smartest person in school, but I would say my physical skills are really good. Whereas you could see me being 10 years in, 12 years in, I see a lot of nurses that are geniuses, book smart, everything. But when it comes down to the actual patient care or any kind of skill regarding a stethoscope or IV insertion or something like that, they're oblivious to what's going on, or they just don't know how to do it. Whereas someone like the more middle to lower academic people seem to become, in my opinion, the better nurse in the long run.
Yeah, I think there's definitely truth in that for sure. Just because also, like, I feel like nursing schools or programs now are very focused on more the academics. And, I think I had to learn all my skills either on rotation or at work. And, you really, when I started and joined CVICU, I was like, oh man, like, I don't know shit.
And these are like the sickest of the sick.
Yeah.
And you're expected to be the best nurses ever, because that's like the whole meme where CVICU nurses are the best.
That is the meme. The memes are true, I feel. But yeah, so it was a huge wake up call. It was like oh man, like I gotta really, the learning curve was huge for sure, especially as a new grad. I didn't really join a residency program because that wasn't a thing at this hospital. It was just like, okay, like, you come for an interview, CVICU, and I got hired. Luckily I had my capstone coordinator professor kind of give me the recommendation.
Yeah, give you like a backing.
Yeah, for sure. But I wasn't the only new grad hired on that unit either. There was a new grad team hired like a year before me as well. So I guess they had good experience with that as well. But it was a good unit, good numbers. But sick patients, open hearts. You're doing a lot of typical meme CVICU things, and learning curve was massive for me. And, you get that like imposter syndrome. It's like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. Things are going crazy, and you're like, oh, I need an adult in here, and it's like,
you are the adult.
The adult now, and I'm like, oh man. So luckily I had a good preceptor. Yeah. So I actually, so it was interesting. So I guess for me, after joining CVICU, things kind of started going a little downhill. With just
in what way?
Just with COVID and everything, and staffing, and this hospital was unfortunately heading towards a strike. And I found that out like 3 weeks after joining.
Oh shoot! So you're like, what do I do? You're stuck in a hard place there.
Exactly. So I was like, I just officially moved. I was going to school in Buffalo, but I wasn't officially moved there. I got the job. I officially moved, got an apartment and everything, furniture, committed. And then, 3 weeks in, I'm like, oh yeah, well, there's a potential strike moving, and it doesn't look good. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like, well, what happens if we do go on strike? Like, how long do you? And I, as a new grad, you don't know anything.
Yeah, you're just.
You don't know any of this
I just want to work.
Yeah, you just want to work. You're just excited. You're ready to like get off orientation. I was just excited to like get my own heart and stuff, get all these checklists off. And, but so unfortunately the strike did happen, and I was like, okay, you know what? I moved here. Let me ride it out. Like, let me just not like give up so quickly, and let me just ride it out. Yeah, 6 weeks later.
6 weeks.
6 weeks. Yeah. It was nuts. But yeah, 6 week strike. And then that hospital, I won't name it, but it definitely chose to sink itself.
Mm-hmm.
The strike was interesting though, because I've never been a part of a strike, or because typically, I mean, your hospital went on strike, but you guys what lasted 2 days?
Like 3 days.
Yeah. So like typically they're short, or like they reach a deal prior to it, but this hospital really chose to sink itself, I feel. And after the 6 weeks, it was just most of the core staff had gone. Like they were so pissed that it lasted for 6 weeks, so they were just like, well, we're
just leaving.
Yeah,
right, because
travel contracts, because they were like, well, why would I ever return back to this place that chose a 6 week strike
during COVID?
During COVID, yeah, like why would I do that? Why would I stay here? And so they went travel contract. They got that COVID travel pay. When I returned to the hospital, we had a few core members left, but that hospital is mostly staffed by travelers, or strike workers that chose to stay post strike. So
wow.
Yeah, it was rough. And so like all the ICU units pretty much collided into one, and they brought us all the way up to like the 8th or 12th floor. I forgot. It was like a 32 or 28 to 32 bed floor, and pretty much all the ICU units combined shared that one floor.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and like you're talking about bringing like ECMO and like
the sickest of the sick during COVID.
During COVID, where there's a red zone at one side, and you're gonna have medical CICU and neuro ICU and
so
CVICU.
All the ICUs were all on one floor.
Yeah, pretty much.
So they just wanted all the critical care people there.
Yep, all in one spot, just to like I guess handle anyone who's short, or any chaos or things like that. But yeah, so and then I guess. So it just kind of got skewed, because you'd go in, and then I'm CVICU, but they were like, okay, well you're gonna take like 2 medical ICU or surgical ICU patients, or you're gonna be on neuro today. I'm like, I don't know anything about neuro.
Yeah, without like an orientation, be like, oh, you're critical care, you got this.
Yeah, and they just stick me with pretty much a random preceptor, essentially, who come to find out, they're like, oh, I didn't know I'm having a new person today. Like they're finding out as I'm finding. So
the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, essentially, like the charge was a travel at one.
Oh, geez, what?
Yeah. So like it was a mess. So
what was there any bright point? Like I know at least in our hospital it wasn't a lot, but they gave bonuses to nurses working in critical care areas, or if you worked an extra shift. Like did they give any type of monetary incentive to be like, oh, since you're here, we'll give you extra few $100, or if you come in for overtime, you'll be instead of time and a half, you'll get double time. Did they do anything like that to keep you guys there?
Incentives for nurses that have been there, but because I was so new, and technically I never came off, I was like still orienting in the process. I didn't get any of those incentives, which kind of sucked. But
wow, so they just abused your eager and new hands.
Pretty much, yeah. They took advantage of being so young and new to it. You're not really like tuned to all that, I guess. But then you're kind of stuck, because you kind of have to just keep going through it until you do come off and you are eligible for those. I will say working red zone during COVID was not fun at all. They walled off this whole like 10-12 bed section of the floor, and we were supposed to do like this rotating schedule of who goes into red zone, because you're fully gowned, you're every PP, and once you're in there, you're not coming out until your end of shift, essentially.
Oh,
right?
shoot.
You can come out, but like the dawn off and on, and all that, and your water has to stay in the other outside of the red zone and things like that. It was and they cut out this little window and like this fake wall they put up for the other side, and it's like CICU and the other side, and
like a drive-through window.
Pretty much, they're just like checking in on you, like make sure you're not passed out from sweating so much in your PPE. And so I ended up working that red zone like a full week and a half. I was like, what happened to this rotating schedule, guys?
They're like, oh, you're the new guy.
Yeah, right after
trial by fire.
Yeah. So for me, besides like not getting the monetary gains from it, I will say, like, I did learn a lot. Like, you just had to, right? So, like, not only did I learn a lot with CVICU, but just in ICU, critical care in general. Like, especially COVID. Like, I've never done compression from a patient's back before, right? Because my COVID patient was prone and she crashed.
That's what they wanted. I've to be honest, I've never seen that.
Yeah, so I was like, how? Well, she's prone, and she weighs a bit, and we have a whole turning, process, right?
Yeah.
A proning procedure and flipping them over again, and you have to do it with respiratory involved because they're intubated and stuff. So my patient's crashing, and my preceptor at the time was like, she didn't know what to do, and we were just like, how are we doing compressions? Because we've never, So then the doctor comes in and he's like, well, you could, just go by anatomy. You guys know where everything is. You know your landmarks. Start from the back. And he was like, well, it's actually where it's going to be more superficial now because it's further in. So they're on their stomach, and you just go from the back, and we did, and it worked. And we were just shocked. And then when we got like stable enough, we flipped over and then, continued everything else procedure wise. But
wow, I did not know that.
Yeah,
no, like it makes sense, but it's also at the same time, if I was seeing that from the outside looking in, I'm like, oh, he also turned into a chiropractor.
Yeah, I feel like you need to step away from that patient right now. But the doctor was like, like in those situations, like think about it, like what to do, where to do it, your landmarks.
Yeah, and at the time it was like anything goes. Like no one really knew what was going on, so you just have to do what you can.
Yeah. So it worked out, and once patient was stable enough, with respiratory, flipped her over and got her carried out how you normally would.
Wow.
Yeah, so I did get to learn a lot. Like, we were so short staffed that, you're just getting, it was never a boring day, I guess.
But you're also probably exhausted every time you left.
We had 3 patients all the time, triple all the time. Yeah, I had a lot of stroke patients too. So I am.
Oh yeah, you said you were doing neuro ICU stuff too. So
so I am like grateful for the exposure and the experience of. I guess it's rare to have all those ICU
all of them
units in one floor.
Compressed.
Right. So just to like walk around and just like learn or see some cool things like that. That aspect, I am grateful for learning and seeing. I don't think I'll get that kind of experience
ever again. No, I don't think so. And you don't want to either anymore. Just keep all those skills and all the knowledge that you learned in there just so you could use it again one day if you needed it.
Seriously. So that was really cool. But
then you eventually left, right?
Yeah. So timing wise, towards the end of my time in Buffalo, my mom got diagnosed with cancer, stage 4 and things like that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Thank you. We had known, I think she got diagnosed at the end of 2020, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. But so I had known while I was in Buffalo for a little bit. My sister was really taking care of, things down here. And during breaks, I would go down and take care of things, whatever they needed as well. But my sister had called me one night. It was a little bit after work, and she was like, "Hey, like, my mom went through the typical, she had a surgery to kind of remove as much chemo, radiation, things like that. And post like 6 months after it had already come back.
Oh, geez.
So my sister had called me when she was like, she texted me at work, like, we need to talk about potentially you moving back down, just because it's a lot, right? She also worked full time. She's not here. She doesn't live off. So I called her. We had a good, lengthy chat. Back to explore some options.
And that's what made you come back home, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So I was like, you know what? Hey, what better time to leave than right now? And I was already feeling pretty
burnt out already from everything that you were doing.
Right. So it was just a lot. I was like, you know what? I had unfortunately re-signed my lease at that time, so I had to figure out a way to get out of that.
To like break the lease kind of thing.
Just had to pay. So that's how you break it.
Oh yeah, you could break it if you pay.
Yeah.
So you come back home. And so you don't have a job right now. So
no job lined up, things like that. My mom being sick, so it kind of left, a lot of things left to do for the family business, which I've always been a part of, always had a hand in. So I came back down and essentially just took over, her role, took on a little bit more so that my dad could also spend time with her. And that.
Of course,
so
that's really good of you.
Oh, don't think I didn't have a nurse job lined up, but I was comfortable with having a break from nursing, honestly, just from that whole thing, and just kind of just focusing on what I need to do here for family storage care. That's
So I know we talked a little bit at this, I think at this point, so you were working at the business, but then you were also thinking about going into something like just not even nursing anymore, like you said, like insurance or something. You just didn't want to do nursing anymore, right?
Yeah, this is probably when Kevin and I met up to work out, and I was telling him everything. He was telling me about his tech job at Mount Sinai and stuff. I was thinking of, well, I didn't want my like nursing degree to go to waste, right? So I was like, you know what, maybe I'll look into like a work from home nurse job, like a nurse, case manager, or like, things like that. Because I had a friend in Buffalo who left bedside for that.
Wow.
Pretty much a new grad too, because he also had a really bad
experience up there.
Yeah. So, he was mentioning about it. So I was looking into it, and I was like, maybe I should do that while I'm here at home. And, I could definitely work from home and do kind of like casework, right? It's not terrible, but it's not, I guess, the fast-paced ICU thing I went into nursing for. Just considering that route after being burnt out. And then you had reached out to me right before I like started really looking into it.
Yeah. Kev was like, oh, Eric, he's back home.
Yeah.
If you could, he's like, you think he would want to work here? I was like, I'll ask him.
Yeah. I honestly didn't even consider like procedural or anything of the sort, because one, I didn't know too much about it, and two, anything I heard about procedural was like you would need quite a few years of experience to even get in or be considered. So I didn't really think it was a like attainable position.
Yeah, and here we are. Hopefully, in the next month, you'll be in.
Honestly, I don't know. It feels like a year-long process.
It's been like what, 7 months? I don't know, dude. It's
we started this whole thing in like June.
Yeah, I remember. I think every time you call me, I'm up in the Woodbury Commons.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, Eric's calling. Let's see what's going on. And then nonstop applying and a bunch of interviews for the same place.
Yeah, for the same place.
Always saying you're going to get the job, but then something always comes up. And then it's just, and not even from your end. It's this end where it's just like, oh, we're missing something. Or it's just HR just saying they're missing something. And then now finally they're giving you the correct offer letter. But now it's just like, can I get anything else? Can I get a start date?
Yeah, right. They give me a tentative start date in the offer letter, but I think they're making me redo like the whole like background check process and things
that you've already done. That took forever.
Like, you're gonna have to come back for another health assessment. I was like, but I was just there.
Man, you'll have to do that too.
Yeah, and I already took an ID photo. Like I was 2 days away from
starting
start date, and now my kids should just use the same info.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you like sticking it out, because I feel like the reason is because you want to work with me.
I do. I mean, I want to join you and Kevin a lot. And, Kevin was, when we were working out that day, he was like, imagine all three of us working on the same unit. And I was like, that does sound amazing. And, unfortunately, hopefully Kevin stays, or is there while I'm there. But even just to work with you. And
you'll meet some pretty cool people for sure.
Yeah. I mean, when I interviewed with them twice, they all seem like great people. So, and I got to meet, I think two of the doctors. They were very funny and very nice and welcoming. So
that's true, man. So
they like my suit. So
gotta look good, man. So what I wanted to get into as well. So you want to use your nursing degree?
Yes.
Did you go into debt for your nursing degree?
Fortunately, no. I was
good. With all the colleges you went to, and
yeah. So pretty much paid my way through each time, and I wasted a lot of money to get to where I am now.
But that's awesome to see. At least now, when you get the paychecks, when you actually do start working, at least it's all going back into your pocket, not towards some loan that will never be forgiven.
Pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely feel for my friends that have that student loan debt. So being loan free is nice for sure. Definitely allows me to invest in ways that I definitely want to invest in as well.
Because I know you already have the family business, and then do you have any other type of like side hustles that you do to help keep you afloat while you're not working?
So now the family business is pretty much takes up most of my time at the moment. My sister and I want to get into more real estate. We have one unit right now, Jersey, being rented out, but we really kind of want to look into expanding that and just like LLC together, as real estate, just gather some properties, rent stuff out. We're talking about we've been looking at showings and stuff like that. We go to
Wow, good.
yes, we're looking
Even with the crazy interest rates and the super inflated prices.
Yeah, even with that, I don't think it should be people should get like hindered by it. I mean, it depends on what you're looking into, right? Obviously, if you're like trying to buy a home for yourself, that I guess it's a little bit of a different story. But if you're really trying to look at it an investment mindset, I guess, like you're either gonna do it or you're not, right? You're gonna wait, let time pass. I mean, you could do it that way too, but you also miss out on a lot of current.
That's true. That is really true.
So we've been looking at a lot of listings just to get a feel for like what's current
What's
market,
out there.
what we like, what things potentially would be able to take on or not. And just because she and I have been involved with the family business for so long, she's taking care of a lot of the back end stuff. I've taken care of the upfront, physical, stuff of the business, building, construction, pretty much all that stuff. So the two of us combined, can really kind of get something.
And that's a really cool thing too, that I really like amongst the Korean culture. I feel like you guys do it a lot better than a lot of other people, where you do keep money in the family type of thing. It's a sense of help each other out, where, from my experience at least, I don't think the Filipino culture necessarily helps their own out. I think so. Like, just from seeing the restaurants around here, like you'll hear Filipinos be like, oh, I'm not going to buy there because I could probably make it better at home, instead of like supporting the local Filipino business. Or a lot of it's probably the same with a lot of people though. It's a lot of flex culture, where it's like, I need to be looking better than that guy because I'm gonna see them at the next Christmas party. Like it's like a weird thing. I'm hoping I'm not generalizing and I get a lot of hate for that, but I think it's pretty true.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, we're just, I know you've talked a lot about it too on your channel, but it's really just trying to like make that generational wealth. We came here with nothing, and just worked hard with some good luck obviously involved, a lot of good luck, a lot of failed businesses.
So it wasn't just the business that you guys.
It wasn't like we started a business and hit it off. No, my dad initially through 2 to 3 failed attempts, different things, different involves. One was like a delivery trucking company. The other was fish market that didn't really do well. The earliest one that failed that I could remember was in Staten Island, and I remember going with him to every kind of help that store as well. But
in Staten Island,
and
from where you live now to Staten Island,
and
that's a drive, man.
It is, yeah. So I mean, all the market for produce and fish and all that stuff is in the Bronx. So just go to that market a couple times a week just to hand select everything and get it on the truck and up and stuff like that.
Oh wow, there's a lot of logistics involved with the family business. It's not just like a regular like a
not a supermarket level where we can just make a call
and then everything gets delivered to you.
Right. Certain things, certain suppliers for sure, but for the bulk of our stuff, no, it's we either have my dad or an employee go down to Hunts Point Market, see those orders, and they get picked up, and we have a truck driver on our end. Hey, that truck gets hauled up here.
Oh geez, so it's a lot going into it. That's awesome.
It's a process. Yeah.
So running businesses doesn't seem to be a problem for you. So you definitely learn things along the way, just like how you absorbed all the ICUs at once. So obviously you'll probably flourish in whatever you do if you're able to handle that type of stress.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, I've had good teachers, and I'm sure I'll learn. I'll try to be as much of a sponge as I can under your tutelage.
Whenever you get here.
Whenever I get there, essentially. Yeah, if I ever get there, and obviously, after we fool around and get that out of our system.
So probably the biggest question a lot of people will probably ask is that why would you, other than working with like friends, why would you wait for this job to finally open up? If there's local hospitals near you, there's a lot of hospitals from where you live to where I work, where you could work at.
Yeah. So So the reason why I'm really patient and, going through this kind of a ringer of a process for this position is because of the position itself. I don't think I really, with my years of experience, which is not that much, I don't think I would be able to get another opportunity for this position like I have now. And I think that's something to continue to pursue. And, like you said, like this position is, people who get it they tend to not leave, right?
True.
Just because it's a very good position, very good job, good money. Yeah. And I think I'm not in a huge rush to go back to ICU. And obviously there are different units as well, but I definitely like the fact that this is also cardiac based as well, which was my first kind of draw into nursing. So kind of bringing what I've learned a little bit, hopefully, into this position as well. And yeah, I just kind of want to get in there and learn as much as I can and get comfortable and kind of just continue for as long as I can in that spot. Kind of use that as a way to kind of, get my side hustles really
That's
going.
true. Like I've always told you, and since I've interviewed two other people three, everyone I've interviewed so far, other than one video that didn't come out yet, I've all worked with them on the unit that I'm working on. And each one of them was able to leave work happy and also use the time that they're off to work on their side hustles or pursue hobbies and stuff like that. And with you having a lot of responsibilities, family business, you're still taking care of your mom. And there's a lot of things that go into that. You never know what's going to happen for either of those things. And you want to work. I feel like the position itself will give you the flexibility to be present in all the things that you have in your life.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely the flexibility is another part. The no weekends,
no holidays,
no overnights. It's huge. It just kind of, when you brought this position, when you brought it to my attention and you told me all these things, I was like, wow, this kind of actually would work with, what I'm doing now and what I'm capable of doing now. So I was kind of blown away a little bit because I was like, oh, I didn't really think that these were viable or potentially available for, because if I go to any other hospital now, I have no seniority. I'm going to be given an overnight, which I physically can't do with what I have going on now. And so I was like, well, that's kind of out. I could go to an outpatient place, but
then that's 5 days a week.
Right. Nothing really seemed appealing to either. And so, but the flexibility of this position, just like biggest draw, even with the commute, I was like, wow, that's way worth it.
Yeah. We actually have like a new nurse that took one of the evening positions. So obviously it's like 11 to 11 position that eventually I hope will be given to you. Like you don't stay overnight, but some days you do go past 11, but obviously you do get overtime for that. But then he travels about an hour and a half too. So he's like coming from like almost Pennsylvania. It's like West New Jersey. It's like really deep, but he says he loves the job and
it's worth it.
He says it's worth it with everything that we're doing and all that. Like it's like the flexibility is huge.
Yes.
And the unlimited, like if you needed money, there's also like unlimited overtime.
Yeah, that's a huge plus too. Well, I mean, I don't know how much overtime I would be doing from the get-go, but
if you needed it, at least it's available.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and New York City pay is huge, and coming from Buffalo, the comparison's like huge.
That's what's crazy. Like I see that with like California, like certain parts of California don't pay well, but then like you go to Northern California and they're like getting paid like two hundreds of thousands. But then you go to New York, if you're not working in New York City, you're getting paid. Sometimes I feel like the equivalent of like retail workers,
like once you're outside of that bubble. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I don't know why that is, but
I don't know why that is because like Buffalo is a pretty dense population there, but they just don't pay well.
A lot of people argue it's because the cost of living there is so low or lower. I personally thought it still cost a bit to live there too, but
yeah, true. Rent is still rent.
Yeah, rent is still rent, but I guess your dollar goes a little further there compared to New York.
That's true.
Down here, downstate New York, but
that's true.
It's in its own country, but own state. But yeah, so I mean, just the comparison in pay, the flexibility is huge. I'm looking to view it as a kind of a long-term position, long-term job. And
I would hope so because that'd be really dope to be hanging out at work with a friend.
Yeah, you're not leaving, right?
No, I don't think so. Something drastic would have to happen for me to leave. Yeah. And since we're wrapping this up a little bit, so if you were to start your career over again, would you do anything differently?
My
Because
nursing
like,
career.
so like, yeah, overall your nursing career, but obviously from all the people I've talked to already, you've had the most, your journey has been the hardest journey I've heard throughout of just work, life, school, everything was just everywhere. And like, so would you change anything?
So, I mean, yes and no. That's not an easy question to answer, just because I have learned so much throughout that journey, just about myself, all the experiences that I've had to go through, all the learning experiences, the people I've met, connection. What's great about the family business is that, it exposes you different kinds of businesses as you go. Just this past year alone, like I've had to talk to structural engineers, with, fixing some stuff within the structure of the building of our store, coordinating with the city and city officials.
All the permits and all that.
Yeah, all those things. Like, I would never get that anywhere else. So I am grateful for those things. I guess the only thing I would change is figuring out what I wanted to do a lot earlier, save some time and money, because time and money time is huge.
Time is money.
Time is money. And I wish I had gotten to nursing a little bit quicker, for sure. But I really don't think I can say I would change it, because all the people I've met, all my friends, I made lifelong friends in Buffalo, and that would never have happened if I hadn't gone at the time I did. So yeah, other than that, I think I would change it.
And any advice for people that are going through similar situations as you, where like life is hitting them hard, they quit their job, a nursing job, and then they're like, I don't even know if I want to. Like, what advice would you give someone that's like teetering on the fence of, should I try it again or not, kind of thing?
So I think definitely taking some time to yourself, priority wise, is probably a good idea. Definitely, like, well, if you just left somewhere, right, left a unit or left a hospital, you left for a reason, right? So kind of like work through that, kind of just give yourself a little bit of time there to figure out to heal. Yeah, essentially. That's what I did. And just kind of just like, so, hey, you know what? Like, I have a very versatile degree. There are definitely a lot of things, a lot of pathways you go with it. Just, during that healing time, just kind of like talk to your friends, network. Like, I would have gone a complete different route without you and Kevin. Just kind of like see what's out there, right? What's out there, really kind of expand that degree and your experience. And if you've already left the hospital, you already have those years of experience down, you have those skills. So I think that's, another big thing with nursing is that you can do a lot with it, actually, more than what I think people realize that go into it. Yeah. Like, I'm like, oh, wow, you can go any direction, really.
And that's one of the few jobs I feel that you can have a whole bunch of options. And like, that's the whole point of this like YouTube channel, is like, outside of success stories of like, say, someone like you, where you're doing so many things outside of here. I think so. You're doing so many things outside of here where you were able to get an immense amount of experience in such a short amount of time, while doing so many things at home, while helping your family run a business, and then finally finding your way back to it, which will definitely have a follow-up once you're fully with us, because like, I'd like to hear your thoughts on certain things. But like, I think
no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think just showing nurses that they don't have to be stuck where they are is such a big thing, because like I keep harping on it, where a lot of nurses end up hating their jobs or hating their life because they feel stuck in like a unit that they don't want to work at, or the unit is toxic, where you do have the option to leave, because there are options outside of that place you had their job. And that's just, people need to have their eyes open to it and see other people that are doing that or have done it.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Especially like, I feel like for new grads, they feel more obligated to stay where they start.
That's true.
I don't know why. A lot of my friends that, what are they, like a couple years in now, they're like burnt out and they're trying to leave that side as quickly as possible, or they're going back to school, So I feel like definitely people need to realize like, hey, like, we can go this way or that way, So it's definitely more flexible than people realize.
Yeah, sure. And a parallel move isn't a backwards move. That's
yeah, for sure.
All right, man. Eric, thank you for taking the time out of your day to hang out with me super early in the morning. I know we both had a lot of responsibilities to do this today, but we just wanted to chat with each other.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Good to talk. Yeah, definitely had a lot of fun, man. Thank you.
And hopefully I see you at work soon, man.
I can only hope.
Thanks, dude.